right back to here in a little bit. I want to explain papers that you have in front of you and all those kinds of things. But first, article analysis. Today's Wednesday, so remember 2 days you would submit that. Again, you do have until the end of the day. On Friday to submit. By end of day, I mean like literally end of the 24 hours, not the end of the school day. On Friday, I would expect that we will have the laptops in here. So if you have your article analysis already ready to go on like Google Drive or on a flash drive, you probably would be able to submit it in class on Friday. So that possibility is out there. I can't finger promise, pinky swear yet at this point because I'm not sure the laptops are available, but I'm pretty sure that they are. Tamara, read this instruction, or did you have a question? Okay, so Friday, you want to make sure you have that ready to go by 11:59 p.m. The papers that you received, come on, which you can't see, yeah. Anton, what'd you do to my screen? You broke it. Let's try disconnecting and bringing it back up. No, I wasn't planning on it. There we go. This sheet. These are not requirements, but we were talking about social mass media yesterday. We're going to continue to do so a little bit today. What this is basically a list of possibilities, and so they can certainly get manipulated as you see fit. They can get used as you want. You'll see down at the bottom, I think I left 3 blanks where you can kind of brainstorm and go into specific things. So yesterday, Brian was mentioning, Colombia, Brexit, things like that. There's not any resolutions on there that are that specific. If that's something that people wanted to go with that amount of specificity, it certainly could happen. So we'll take a look at these here in a little bit. Some of them you'll go, yeah, I would agree with that, or I'd like to debate that. Others you're going to go, why in the world did you put that on? I'm just trying to come up with as many possibilities as could. So that's a potential list. On the back of that list, though, is something that's also going to be significant that we'll be going over. That's the rubric of what's going to be happening for your eloquent speech. So it should be on the back of the resolution list. Make sure it's there. Yep. So you can see the main thing for you, the speech itself that we're going to be doing is a 100-point speaking assignment. We haven't had one that large yet. We had a 10-point SPAR. We had a 25-point SPAR. This one is certainly going to be more developed. It's going to be roughly a 6-minute speech, so the point value for it is going to get increased. That's not anything that you really need to be fearful of quite yet at this point, or I don't think at any time. You know what your topic is going to be. You know what your side is going to be. You know who your opponent is. So all those questions that you might have had early on when we were doing the SPARs, those things get taken care of very, very quickly. When we do our speeches, and I would say our speeches are probably going to be beginning on Tuesday, October the 18th, so a little less than 2 weeks away. You're going to know what day you're going to go. We're going to plan that stuff. I do think that a fair number of you have a field trip on the 20th with that's Penn State. So, if check calendars as we're looking forward, if you have field trips, doctor appointments, things like that. For example, Wednesday the 19th, we're not having class because of PSATs and things like that. So look over your calendar, start to see what days you are available or not available. I don't want Caitlin signing up that, yes, I can go on, Friday the 21st, and then all of a sudden she's not here, due to some kind of conflict. So we are going to be scheduling days for those. But the point breakdown, the setup, we will go over all of this, in the very near future. But just wanted you to be aware, this is the rubric that's going to get used. I will have separate copies of it, give those rubrics to you after you give your speech the grading so that you can certainly see them. But it's a pretty thorough breakdown as to the types of things that you need to do. You do see from the time standpoint, your introduction should be a minute, the body of your speech should be 3 minutes, and then you're going to have a rebuttal closing, which is going to be 2 minutes. You are going to be alternating for each section. So if Ethan and I are doing a debate, he will speak for 1 minute, I will speak for 1 minute. Then he will speak for 3 minutes, then I will speak for 3, and then he goes for a final 2, I go for a final 2. So you are doing a 6-minute speech, but you are not doing a 6-minute block of text speech where you're going to be talking for that whole entire time, consecutively. So at most, you folks have done 90 seconds. That would get doubled, but that would be with the body of the speech. So you don't have to worry about the whole entire 6 minutes happening at one time. The other sheet that you have is a speech planner, and also you see the 1 minute, the 3 minute, the 2 minute breakdown on it, the thing with the boxes. I don't collect speeches from you. You don't come up with speeches. You can come up with note cards, you can come up with notes, you can come up with that speech planner. And I'm going to make you a second copy of the speech planner because when you do your speech, everyone on October the 18th, you're going to give to me a copy of your speech planner and a works cited page of the sources that made it into your speech, and that's what you're going to kind of hand into me. That's not the text of your speech, so when JT is speaking, I'll have your speech planner in front of me, kind of following along, but I'm not deducting a point for you. You said you were going to say the word "the," and you said the word "than." How dare you minus 1 point? One of the main things to try to focus on is to get you folks to, and you've done a nice job of it, consistently make eye contact, kind of have a natural flow to your speaking patterns. Generally, if folks have a text right in front of them and they're reading it like this and they're not making eye contact whatsoever, there's a total lack of emotion taking place. So, note cards, handwritten notes, speech planner, those are things that you can bring up to kind of keep yourself organized, but you're not going to have an actual copy of the speech, teleprompter in front of you. Anton's not going to be holding the iPad with your speech in front of you. It's kind of neat teleprompter technique. So just kind of be aware of those things. But I don't think that's going to be problematic because we got still plenty of time to get ready. But so you have a rubric, speech planner, those are things that you're definitely going to want to hold on to as we start moving forward with it. Any questions about those things? I know you don't know your topic yet. I know you don't know who you're speaking against yet. Once those things get figured out, it'll get a little bit easier. All right. We were kind of coming up yesterday with topics, or not topics, characteristics that you would like to see within presidents. So we had serves the people, loyalty, being truthful, practical. Thank you. I saw practice and then I don't know what I wrote. Practical, open to varying viewpoints, exuding some confidence, being ability to compromise, having plans, intelligence, things like that. The question I kind of had for you, with thinking about all those things, and electing people who would have those qualities, do you think social and mass media improved the presidential election process? Because of the amount of media we have, do you think that has been a good thing for us selecting candidates to be president? And you can think of other elections as well, Senate, mayors, congressmen, whatever the case may be. Do you think that influx of connectivity, information, ways of viewing candidates, viewing debates, while people scream and yell over each other like we had yesterday with vice presidents, do you think all this form of media has improved the election process? In comparison to not having it, would we be better off not having any of these things and just voting for a person, or have these things helped? I see people kind of nodding, so that kind of seems like we would think they help. Do you think it helps for the primary because of the sheer number of candidates, or because, like you said, that's the one that you have more, you feel like you have more impact?
Yeah, I think that the voters, the general population, is more informed, so they can vote on different ideas than just going on their own.
And at this point, it's more, if you're a Republican, you're voting Republican. If you're a Democrat, you're voting Democrat. Not that that holds 100% true, but it's more party affiliation at this point than it is maybe personal values that might have.
Kind of, but the electoral politics
Okay, so since the popular vote in itself does not elect the president, but it does in, more so in the primaries, that's where you would see the difference taking place. Okay.
I say with social mass media, it's even more serious Republican candidate than Trump.
So if this stuff were not around, it'd be a different candidate?
Yes.
How come?
Because that's like what galvanizes campaign.
Okay.
Him saying outrageous stuff and getting airtime from social and mass media, make people like.
So I don't want to twist your argument. Would you say mass social media and mass media kind of combined promote less qualified people to be president? And you're all just say no, that's not what I meant.
I'd say more mass media,
Okay.
because that's like, because with mass media they want to show what makes them money.
Uh-huh.
If they show what makes them money, and it's Trump saying outrageous things, and he becomes the presidential nominee for the Republican Party, and he's kind of the mass media.
Okay. All right. Can you? Well,
I was going to say, kind of to go on with Brian, like,
you okay?
kind of like,
I'm afraid that lung's gonna like hit Chris while he's trying to get his ideas out.
this should just like, hold off then. Anyway, but this is kind of like I guess you could consider it like a new political front, because I forget who it was who ran against JFK. But there
Nixon.
Was, like, what?
Nixon.
Yeah,
I feel
Nixon.
like that's Nixon.
I wasn't sure. But like they describe, a lot of people ended up voting for JFK because he looked better on TV rather than Nixon. Yet
And that's the first. And that was the first televised debate.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like to connect it to modern day with people like freaking out on your image on social media, on like news channels and stuff like that. And so like I guess it's just a new front with like old ideas. It's kind of been around the same time, so you can't really make the argument that like people are only going to focus on smaller details or like candidates get elected based off of other things besides their ideals.
Same thing I said to Brian, and you can go, no, it's not really what I mean. Would you say that this, based on what you have said, would you say that mass media and social media promote image over content?
Yes.
Okay. Would, and Maisie, we'll get to what you have to say as well. Do you therefore think that of let's say this list that we have here of 1 through 9, and Chris, I'm going to keep it to you for now, but other people can chime in later. Do you and I would agree all of these things would be excellent viewpoint or excellent characteristics, traits to have within a president. Do you think any of these things get de-emphasized due to social and mass media?
Yes.
Like what?
Plans.
Plans?
Serving the people is kind of if/when, like how you define.
And a lot of them can certainly be
Yeah.
dependent upon what's going on. Most sound bites that you hear come news or when people are watching highlights, how long do they tend to be? Average is probably 30 seconds. Maybe you go up to a minute for like some lengthy ones. And certainly, campaign ads would be good examples of this. You're seeing 5-second sound bites, 10-second sound bites. Any plans that you really have, how long is it going to take for you to go into detail about it? Like if it's a significant plan about a significant minutes, hours, depending. So is that made for TV? And Brian was mentioning the whole media wants to create money. I mean, revenue is certainly the big thing. That can certainly be hard to communicate because if a person starts talking for more than 3 or 4 minutes, what's on that channel? You might start flipping. So, that ends up being an issue that some folks might want to take a look at. Does it promote, how, not necessarily how people look, although that could be an argument, but the idea, the image that a person presents over the actual content of their overall ideas.
I think that sometimes media can try to give a more more interesting story instead of focusing on the big plans.
So like side stories, interest.
Yeah, and
You-
this can also change how a person feels because I don't know, stories can always change if I tell someone and then someone tells someone and then someone tells someone. You know what I mean? And then things can always get twisted and then it'll
Telephone game, you say one thing,
yeah, and then
slightly.
it just gets messed up and then
Chris mentioned new front of politics taking place. I remember '92, Clinton running for president, Bill Clinton. He showed up on what network? Presidents would never go on this network. MTV, appealing to the to younger voter audience. People never thought about tapping into that network before. He's going on night shows wearing sunglasses, playing the saxophone. And it's not that people were going, wow, he's the greatest musician I've ever seen in the world, but it was the whole idea. It kind of broke down that barrier as to how you would view even JFK, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, where they are political leaders, but it was almost becoming more like celebrity, which is different. There's a difference between electing a political person and electing a celebrity, and you could certainly argue that that might be the case that's going on with current elections in some ways for both sides of it. So yeah, there certainly kind of is that shift that does start to take place. Dom, you had one thing, and then
Yeah, I was going to say that social media and mass media kind of alters or warps the argument so that it's not so much about which president is better or which candidate is better. Now it just becomes about which candidate is worse. Because instead of talking about the qualities of each candidate, they just sort of spend most of their time slandering the other person.
well, and there are a lot of people where I'm not going to vote for who I want to be president or who I think will be a good president, but I'm going to vote for who I think will be a lesser evil, kind of concept. So it warps the argument maybe from going for who you would actually support to voting for, well, I dislike them less than I dislike the other person. Which, that's a sad state of affairs if that's a position that a lot of folks, certainly would be in. Can't imagine that one being president. Really can't imagine that one. I guess I'll go for the one I can't imagine in the first place. And so, yeah, that is certainly an argument that a lot of people have thrown out there. All right, taking a look at the resolutions that threw out there. And again, I'm not trying to make you pick from any of these. I was just trying to come up with some ideas that might be of use to people, but certainly concepts that we have just presented up there, if you see any of those that you think would be helpful, by all means, you can certainly go with it. Number one, mass media makes life more meaningful. I guess the key concept with that one is, what do you think is going to be meaningful within life? And that's not necessarily an agreement that we need to come up with as a class, but does it make life more meaningful, improve the quality of it, I guess. 2, Americans can trust the media, and you could certainly add mass or social media most of the time. You could change that to all the time. Number 3, Americans can trust their government. That one, folks might go, well, where's the whole media aspect of it? But a lot of times, how do we view the government? Based on how it is portrayed by the media. Number 4, freedom of speech has revealed more good than bad in human beings. Certainly social media gives everyone another outlet. I would say we're kind of on a new frontier of free speech. People make the argument Twitter gives everyone the ability to express their thoughts. Should everybody express his or her thoughts? Can kind of end up being an argument you would want to take a look at. I've mentioned Tuesdays are my least favorite days of the week. Number 1, Monday, you kind of have the adrenaline rush that you can still kind of make it through the day. Tuesday, reality sets in. You still got 3 more days after Tuesday, Joey. It's going to be a long week, unless you're seniors and you don't show up on Monday. Then you still have that adrenaline rush. Penguin games, Pirate games on Tuesdays. They do that stupid Twitter Tuesday where a person scores, and on the bottom of the screen you see all these tweets coming in from Blawnox and Pine and Richland and Ross, and JT's mentioning his 2 cents about the goalie, and Dan's explaining how the line should change, and I'm going, I don't care, I just want to watch the game, get that off the screen. So you can kind of argue that gives everyone a voice, but shouldn't give everyone a voice. Number 5, social and mass media have moved America in the right direction. So you kind of mentioning we're on a new frontier. Is that frontier going in the right way, or is it going the wrong way? Number 6, social and mass media accurately reflect the core beliefs of mainstream America. So the things that are showing up, do you think that's an accurate portrayal, depiction of what we believe? Social mass media provide relevant information about human behavior, personality. Social and mass media strengthen proper accountability and ethics of our government leaders. Regular consumption, social mass media will make you a better American. JT, do you tweet? How often? That's not tweeting. Anton's like sending out turtles like 15 times, talking about a conquo.
I usually only go in there to see if it's and like really kind of upsets me sometimes.
Okay. Well, you would be a better person if you tweeted more.
Right. This is actually really motivational. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I put you right there.
Like
Actually,
every day I read it and I'm just like, well, you know what? I'm not gonna give up today.
I'm motivated to put that comma in the right
Until
spot.
one more day, I can do it.
So improve user well-being, enhance one's empathy or civil engagement. These are all regular consumption. Improve one's critical thinking, global understanding, improves communication and/or collaborative skills. Number 13 would be an interesting one because the majority of your English teachers are going to say, what does texting and tweeting and emailing and all that kind of stuff do? Or worsens your like ability to spell words. You know, JK, LOL, you know, all that kind of stuff. But does that improve your communication skills because you're able to talk to more people or communicate with more people? Are you better able to recognize things like tone? Because certainly you can get a text message from someone, and in some ways, some folks will read it as if they're yelling at you. Some will look at it as being sarcasm. Some, you know, tears and laughing and whatnot. Are we better able to read people based on having to only look at small snippets of information? Could be a way in which you could take a look at that skill. Number 14, most sources of social mass media view truth and accuracy as more important than profitable entertainment. I would say like Brian's comment would be no, you know, for that one. Some folks might argue yes. And certainly you could identify specific sources. You know, you could certainly go, in general, they do or they do not, but you could pick specific ones. Does Fox News, does MSNBC, does CNN, are they worried about profit, entertainment, or are they worried about getting truth, accuracy out there? Popular movies, television shows improve the core values and citizenship of Americans by you knowing that you would survive the zombie apocalypse. Just like Billy was explaining on the morning announcements yesterday, that makes us better Americans. Most Americans are willing to change their views when faced with fair, compelling evidence. I think that would be an interesting one to certainly take a look at. Ethan's going no. No. 17. Gut decisions work better than decisions involving extended deliberation.
That'd be so difficult to argue though.
Pardon?
That'd be so difficult to argue. Like, how would you argue for gut feelings for that?
Well, you and your opponent could kind of decide in general, are there any specific decisions that we kind of think of as being gut decisions? Not that this would be a whole 6-minute speech. When we would practice for AP tests, and people would change their answers on multiple choice, I basically always said trust your gut with your initial reaction. Don't waste time erasing, overthinking it. You're going to make things more complex than they need to be. So, like, that'd probably be more anecdotal than anything else.
But like if you're buying a car, you don't just go buy it. You like look at car facts and everything like. Yeah, like.
There, I forget what the number was. I want to say there was a study where in 2000, before people bought a car, new car, they would go to like 4 to 5 dealerships. Today it's down to 1 to 2. And the argument wasn't that people have gotten worse. People are more well informed about what they want with the car. They've done the research and all those kinds of things, so they know what decisions they're making. Not, yeah, I think that one looks nice, and then go to some other places as well.
That's how I decided which car.
So like the opposite of 17 would be like 18.
Nice little story.
Yeah, and it was a good
I'm
choice.
not sure to
Nearly,
comment, but you didn't.
nope. Nearly all decisions should be based on as much information as possible. It's more appropriate to have appropriate emotional responses than rational thought. Mainstream America became more tolerant and progressive during the Obama administration. Reason for that one is really during the Obama administration, what has happened from a media standpoint, we've had an explosion of social media, mass media. So you could substitute whatever leader you would want who would basically be in office from, roughly 2005 to today. Peer influences within a voter's community are much more influential than debates between candidates, which you'd be viewing on TV or through streams. Most Americans gaining popularity and power are more important than practicing moral principles. I think that would kind of go on with, which things characteristics do you think TV, mass media endorses, emphasizes, or de-emphasizes? 23, the U.S. justice system should use 1, 2, or 3 trained judges instead of juries consisting of 12 people. Now you're going against the whole idea of jury of your peers, who possibly have been influenced based on media, and now saying we're going to a formally trained judge, 1, 2, or 3. I guess 1 or 3. Tough to have 2. Yes, you're innocent. No, you're guilty. Now 1. I guess you need 3. In getting elected, a candidate's personality is more influential than factual issues or the candidate's record. So that image versus content that mentioned with Kennedy and Nixon, Chris, I think that would kind of go in this realm. A presidential candidate's personality is more important for effective leadership than experience or training. Through the use of social mass media, nearly anyone can be viewed as a legitimate presidential candidate. Brian, I think that would kind of go with what you were saying, with Republican Party. You don't necessarily have to have the experience, but as long as you can create the image or whatnot. 27, voting age for all elections should be 16. Saying no.
Yes. Sorry.
You're shaking your head no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we say
That's when he says correct.
Correct.
Are you the person when giving directions, the person goes left and you say right, and then they turn the wrong way?
Probably.
Yeah. And then 28, voting should be mandatory. I believe it's Australia, voting is mandatory. Like you have to vote. There are a couple exceptions from it, but you have to vote. It's part of your civic duty. Questions or reactions to any of these?
Does every single group need to choose like their own?
So here's what we're gonna do. Against all better judgment, I'm going to give you a chance to choose your own partner, which means you can move around and all that kind of stuff. Right now, I'll give you the 45 seconds of awkward eye contact where you start like, but you kind of move around. The idea now, you do not have to choose from this list. You do not have to choose from this list. You do not have to choose from this list. I'm under the impression that the vast majority of you are going to choose from this list. And you could certainly take, I'm taking direct random one, 20 or set 14, and then tweak some wording of it. So you could word it where it's negatively stated, or you could switch, make something only social media, make it only mass media, select certain types of social or mass media. You could look at print, you could look at television only, streaming, things of that nature. So I'm not opposed to you changing. Certainly, I think you guys had some really good ideas that were kind of getting mentioned on the board before. A lot of these do tend to be political, although notice at the top, gut decisions doesn't have to be political. Relevant information about human behavior, America moving in the right direction. It's revealed more good than bad when it comes to freedom of speech, so they don't have to be political concepts. You, for 29, 30, 31, can certainly come up with your own. Chris, to answer your question, yes. Though once someone goes 15, that one's off the board. So what's going to be happening is, number one, people are starting to pair up. We do have 25 people when everyone is here. That would mean we would have to have a group that would have 3. There are certainly topics on here, and others can be created where there are more than 2 distinct possibilities. So there can be 3 options. So if there are 3 of you that you really do want to work together, we do need a group of 3. I'll give people a chance to work together. If we have some folks who are like, yeah, I don't really care who I work with, doesn't matter to me, then I'll just do random poll things from the hat for those who are left. But if you're you need to work with Maisie, and she feels confident that she will destroy you, 2 of you can agree to work together.
Just a good one against each other, yeah.
Well, we'll see how that happens. Or I could make my preseason rankings of 1 through 25, who I view would be the top and who would be at the bottom. And
Am I at the bottom?
You're 23. I mean, you did kind of shoot yourself in the foot, that pun intended. Yeah. Alright, I'll let you start moving around. Give you more than 45 seconds to lock your eye contact.
Wait,
And,
that's a bad grade.
besides you.
Hey, Mr. King, what do you think you are 27?
It's working out.
Look at that.